Hello, my name is Renata and today I'll be talking to you about ghrelin, otherwise known as the hunger hormone. So what is ghrelin? Ghrelin is a peptide hormone made up of a chain of 28 amino acids. So it travels through the bloodstream, has a relatively short half-life and is quick acting. It also activates a second messenger signalling system that we'll discuss. It presents in two forms, acylated and unacylated. The acylated form is acylated at its third residue, that is the serine residue, by octanoic acid, which is a fatty acid otherwise known as caprylic acid. The acylated form is considered the primary active form of ghrelin. The majority of ghrelin is produced by the endocrine cells of the oxyntic gland in the mucosal layer of the stomach, with a small amount also produced in the duodenum. Its receptor, however, has been found in multiple locations throughout the body. The production of ghrelin by the stomach coincides with periods of starvation or fasting. Levels of ghrelin in the blood typically rise just prior to eating a meal, signalling the need to eat. As such, ghrelin is an orexigenic hormone, meaning that it stimulates hunger, in contrast to anorexigenic hormones such as leptin. Ghrelin interacts directly with the anterior pituitary gland and via the vagus nerve to the hypothalamus. So in addition to stimulating hunger, it also stimulates energy gain and the release of growth hormone. It's also been shown to play a role in the modulation of circulating levels of glucose, insulin, and cortisol. Acylated ghrelin binds to the growth hormone secretagogue receptor 1A in both the anterior pituitary gland and the hypothalamus. In doing this, it activates two cell signalling pathways that serve to increase intracellular calcium levels. In the anterior pituitary, the second messenger cascade sees an activation of the phospholipase C to protein kinase C, or PLC, to PKC pathway, which triggers the release of growth hormone. In the hypothalamus, adenyl cyclase activates the ATP to cyclic AMP to protein kinase A conversion that produces the orexigenic effect or feeling of hunger. Ghrelin function may be altered in the case of disease. A disease such as Prader-Willi syndrome is characterised by infantile hypotonia or an abnormally low level of muscle tone. It is also known as floppy baby syndrome. Early childhood onset obesity and hyperphagia, or excessive eating, developmental delay and mild intellectual disability may occur along with stunted growth. A deficiency in growth hormone has been shown to be one contributing factor, and replacement therapy usually provides some improvement. Ghrelin has also been implicated in the disease. Beaulieu and others in 2016 proposed that it is the ratio of unacylated to acylated ghrelin and the change in this ratio that occurs with age that contributes to this syndrome. The high level of unacylated ghrelin induces an anorexia-like state in early development. In turn, the low level of acylated ghrelin, which is the form that signals hypothalamic and anterior pituitary pathways, results in reduced growth hormone secretion. The unacylated ghrelin then drops quickly with age, and the acylated ghrelin becomes dominant and causes the switch in feeding behaviour that leads to overeating and obesity onset. This may be due to a defect in the enzyme that acylates unacylated ghrelin in mammals, that is, ghrelin O-acyltransferase, otherwise known as GOAT. Since its identification in 1999, ghrelin has been shown to participate in and perhaps regulate multiple endocrine neuronal activities, particularly the pathways that regulate hunger, satiety, growth hormone release, insulin mediation, glucose metabolism, and cortisol release. The previously presumed inactive form, that is unacylated ghrelin, has now been demonstrated to also play a role in endocrine neuronal activity. With continued research, new tools may be discovered to enable manipulation of this hormone to aid in the control of diseases of metabolic states, such as obesity and Prader-Willi syndrome. Thank you for listening to this presentation.